Greetings, everyone. What are your plans for election night once you've got your voting completed? How about instead of focusing on the election results, focus on raising your consciousness and the love in the world by being guided in a mindfulness practice? That's right, once you vote, you can elect for love with this free mindfulness webinar event. You can register and find more information at content.e-motionsengineering.com/electlove. So instead of focusing on the results, which will likely are going to be resolved anyway, you can focus on yourself and the life that you want to create. We'll be doing practices such as a body scan, box breathing, the I Love Myself mantra meditation, ideal world visualizations. Friend of the show, Rachel Koontz, is going to be doing some restorative yoga practice for us. And today's guest, Andreea Tamas, is going to be doing a meditation for resilience. So this event is free, and it'll last 2 hours starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, November 3rd. That's election night on Tuesday. And you can join whenever, and you can stay with us for as little or as long as you like. So elect for love at this free mindfulness webinar, November 3rd, 7 p.m. Pacific. Don't just do something, sit there. You can register and find more information at content.e-motionsengineering.com/electlove. Welcome to the Engineering Emotions and Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Wink. Today, we got a fabulous guest. Her name is Andreea Tamas. And you might be asking, well, who is Andreea? She is in love with life and people, speaks Romanian, Italian, English, and wait, there's more. She also speaks Spanish, loves to travel and meet people from different cultures. She's interested in knowing the meaning of life and passionate about love and vibes. What's her mission? It's to take you through the most needed and profound transition, moving from scarcity, overthinking, and brain fatigue. I can totally relate to all this, into the connection with your higher self, from which your unique legacy can fully blossom. It is where you no longer are afraid to make small or big decisions in your life because you are deeply connected with your mind and body so that you can make aligned choices and you don't feel like there's a battle inside of you. So who else is she? I just love this bio. So I love reading the whole thing because there's so much great stuff in there. She's a coach, speaker, and trainer with John Maxwell, and on her way to becoming a certified NLP coach. That's neuro-linguistic programming. She's held several jobs, worked as a manager, client support specialist in a management consultant company, and has now opened her coaching business because she felt frustrated and overwhelmed with, I guess, being an employee. So she was feeling unfulfilled and that life did not have meaning. And she's taking the time to present and expand the influence of people to help them take their journey to the next level. So welcome to the show, Andreea. Good. Oh, and most importantly, she's also my coach. She's actually been the only one-on-one coach that I've had for an extended amount of time. So since March or April, we meet one-on-one, and it's just been a phenomenal experience. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that. So hi, Andreea. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Justin. And let me know that you are one of the best clients I ever had. So you're so amazing, and you've grown so much since we've been working together. So I'm so proud to be your coach.
Well, I know I'm maybe I'm the best so far, but I'm sure you're on your way to having many, many more fantastic clients as I've gotten to see sort of your community and your coaching business grow. I know you've got your heart-centered decision-making community. I think you're over 400 members. So that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's you know how it is building the business. It's a work in progress. And same as anyone that is building a business, we just need to have patience and find those small things to enjoy while we build it, and don't just wait for the outcome in order to be happy, and find happiness in the now, in every small thing that we are doing.
I think that's kind of so key, is to recognize that there's nothing outside that will ever change the inside. And anyone probably that's been successful in life probably on some level recognizes that success accomplishment doesn't actually bring a lasting change to your internal state. Like I know for myself, one of the saddest days of my life was when I bought my house and got the keys, and I'm just like, fuck, I don't know what to do after this. I've like everything that I had set out since I was a kid, I've accomplished. Like, oh my God, what's life about? Um, and
Yeah.
I've since started to figure stuff out. But um, yeah, it's curious. So for you and other people you've worked with that come to that realization that they're not where they're meant to be, like working a corporate job. What have you found is getting over that hump? Because I'm definitely kind of like, I work at a big tech company, and I'm like, this is not for a while. I'm like, I don't know if this is the place for me. But sort of getting to the other side of that transition, what um and I'm wondering, is it that most of us think that it's got to be like a switch and it's all one big thing, or is it most commonly like a gradual over time process? And I'm really curious.
Yeah, so I would say it's different for everyone, because our journeys are different. And how it was for me, it was that when I moved to United States, I worked like a lot in the restaurant industry. And I was very tired of that. I was like, oh my God, I'm not like really using my full potential there. So that's when I started. I'm like, I think I need an office job. And I had this idea that in an office job, I will grow and I will learn and
Yeah.
I will love it so much. And even if the company I worked for, it was like family oriented, that's how they call themselves. It was still a pretty big company. And I found myself really dragging to work. Like while I was trying to look at the benefits, yes, because when you work in an office job, you're like, oh my God, I have like a good pay. I have
Hmm.
all these benefits. And I also had nice coworkers, but for me, it was so terrible to just sit at that computer and not being able to grow myself, to fulfill myself. And I think one of the factors, it was also the fact that I had so much downtime at
Hmm.
work. And for me, it was like, oh my God, like I have nothing to do, but I cannot do anything for myself. So I really felt trapped. And what I did, how I decided to really move on and start my business, because I was already almost 3 years into my job and I was so frustrated. And I'm like, there is never going to be like the perfect time, a good time to just leave and leave my job and start my business. So I decided that, okay, I put this date in my mind. And
Hmm.
until then, I'm just going to quit. Like that's how I took the decision to quit my job because I was thinking, what if tomorrow I'm going to die? Like, I think
Yeah.
one of the things is that we take life for granted. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, we just kind of assume that I woke up today like every other day to almost to infinity. I should just be able to wake up. Like there's a part of us that realizes that no, that's not going to happen, but it's like, yeah, it almost seems like, well, it's been this way for as long as I can remember, so it'll probably just keep going. But at some point, usually it's like a health related or something that sometimes we wake up like holy shit, like I could die, and have I actually lived, or have I just been waiting for something to happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
And and that's how I started thinking, I'm like, what if tomorrow I'm gonna die? Like, what if something is gonna happen and I'm not gonna be able to pursue my dreams anymore? So I've set a date in my mind and I knew exactly when I'm gonna go. It was like right after the holidays. I had in my mind the dates to go and tell my manager that I'm quitting. And the week before I go into the office, she called me into her office.
Hmm.
And guess what? She proposed me like a new position into the company. And I
Uh-oh.
was like, no way. So I had to quit earlier, 1 week earlier. I'm like, I can't say yes. And I felt like that was like a test from the universe. Like, are you really going to do this? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, she just gave me like a new position. I'm like, no. And I just told her in that time, like that I have been thinking and I just want to pursue my dreams. And I quit it 1 week earlier than my plan.
Wow. Yeah. That is, and so had you'd already kind of started your side business and kind of gotten going. So did having that like deadline kind of, help you with, making things happen? Cause it was like, look, no, this has to be something because this is an end date here.
Yeah, but let me tell you, like I barely started. I was barely able to do anything because I was working so much. So I was still having two jobs at that time. So I was barely having time to do much, but I didn't have any paying clients when I quit it.
Mhm.
But I just did it anyways. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not gonna wait. You know how it is, like we are waiting for the perfect time or perfect solution, and that never comes.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do it. Well, and I think there's a little part of at some point recognizing, you know, hey, I got to have some faith, some belief in myself and my own abilities that I can do this. Well, and then there's also the like, well, what is the worst that could happen? And often the worst seems so bad until we actually like verbalize it and think about it. Go like, well, wait, it doesn't work out, and I go back and I get this job again. Like, oh, okay. So the worst is I end up right back where I am. Like, oh, okay, but I have a shot at my dream.
Yes. So I think so many times our mind is definitely imagining the worst. Like, oh my God. And because we don't really say and put and think things through, we don't really know that, oh, actually, I have so many options, even if that is going to happen. Like, we can still make it. It's not like I'm just going to die if that is going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and I think I just even kind of like realized this somewhat recently, and it might even be when I was talking with you because when we do our sessions, like so much comes up that sometimes I can't even remember. Um, but like one of my biggest motivations for financial security has been like I never want to have to live with my parents ever again. And I started realizing like, wait, I know so many people now, with houses that have extra rooms or they have an extra camper that like there's like 38 things that I would try before that's an option. Like, why am I letting that control, what I do with my life, how do I spend my time and how I earn my money? It was just, it kind of blew my mind that it took that long, because that was a program that came from, I don't know, 20 years ago, where it's like, do whatever you
Mhm.
can to not live with these people. And it's like, wait, I have so many other options in life than, stay in this job or go move with my parents.
And sometimes that's all we need. You see, all we need is an insight in order to make that change, to make a big change in our lives.
Feeling overwhelmed by the daily grind? Imagine if you could pause, reset, and truly connect with a calmer, more fulfilled you. It's not just a dream, it's absolutely possible. Hi, I'm Justin, and I invite you to discover the life changing techniques in my book, Engineered to Love. Right now, I'm offering a free chapter complete with guided audios that have already helped so many people find peace amidst the chaos. These aren't just any techniques. They're transformative practices designed to help you love yourself and engage deeply with the present moment without even having to close your eyes to the world around you. So join us at engineeredtolove.com/sample and access your free guided session. It's time to bust the busyness and embrace the joy, ease, and love in your everyday life. Don't wait. Start your journey to a more relaxed and recharged you today, because you deserve to live a life you love. Visit engineeredtolove.com/sample. See you there. And so sometimes people get really hung up on the, making the decision. They try to go like, well, I want to make sure I make the right decision.
Mm.
Um, what what have you found is usually what blocks people, and then what can they, how can they sort of connect to that certainty that, when I was reading your bio, that because there's, when you're really in touch with what you want and you want it and you're going to go get it, there's no changing your mind, and there's really nothing that can happen that can stop us. And I think we all sort of have had those situations where at some point it's like, this is going to happen, and then it happened. It didn't, maybe it wasn't pretty, whether it was like finding the love of your life, or finishing school, or getting that first job, or whatever it is. So I think everyone's kind of maybe had that, but so often we like forget and second guess ourselves of like, oh, maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do that.
And so there are so many things there. Uh, but I would say when people are like, oh, I just don't want to make the wrong decision, I want to make sure I will do the right decision. First of all, like I really liked to put myself back to what is right and what is wrong. Like I kind of eliminated these words from my vocabulary. And
So to you, there's no right or wrong, and I'm guessing good or bad also.
yes. And it's like, of course, we are not talking about morals here, but it's like, I truly believe we can take a decision and make it right for us,
Mm,
and did not expect that it's going to be all butterflies and all beautiful. Because when you are making strong, powerful decisions, you can expect that there is going to be some pain because some growth is going to come out of it. So
mm,
I want you to expect that with powerful decisions, you are going to go through a transition. Because when you make a powerful decision, you pretty much you are creating your future, and you choose something else than you had until that point. And what can stop people to make those decisions is like procrastination, 100%, because you're like, I want to make the right decision. And because people are waiting and they just don't know, they are indecisive, and they don't realize that while they are waiting, they still made a decision. They made a decision not to decide.
yeah.
So procrastination is one. The other one is that you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in your ability that you can figure it out. So you really need to bring in that confidence that no matter what is going to happen, I will figure it out. And that takes time. That comes with time and working on yourself. And other way that, for example, I applied and I also shared with you on how to make decisions is like, if it's not something super important, but it's like something day to day, I really like to set a timer. And I'm like, okay, I have been thinking too much about this. Okay, I'm giving it 10 more minutes and I'm going to decide on something. Because I think because of so many choices that we have right now into the world,
Yeah.
it's so hard to decide because we are constantly looking of what is the best. What is the best website? What is the best course? What is the best coach? What is the best? So we are constantly looking for the best. And because we don't know, because there is no best for everyone, there's going to be something great for you, that it might be something totally different than for someone else.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I it does. I'm going to call this the Whole Foods dilemma. Or if someone doesn't have a Whole Food, whatever your fanciest grocery store is, where you go to the yogurt section and there's like 35 40 literally 40 different types of yogurt, and it's just like, which one's the yogurt for me, and then what price, which is like why often I prefer to just go to like Trader Joe's, or like a low cost market where it's like there's a light yogurt, there's a full sugar yogurt, and maybe there's three choices, and then it's like, okay, boom, that one. And um in some ways we can always just sort of even we're out of Whole Foods, we can just eliminate and just, and then just pick, and then it's like we think that so much in life is permanent, but it's like, just because you picked the wrong yogurt, you can go back and buy new yogurt. We can always make another decision, right?
Yes. And another thing is, how do you know if you are good at making decisions? Because I don't think anyone ever taught us how to make good decisions. And the way to find out if you are good at making decisions, just look at your life right now. Look
Mm-hmm.
at where you are. And if you're happy with where you are, that means you've done some great decisions in your life. If you are not happy, that means probably you've done some really poor decisions until this point. And if you don't change something, you're going to continue the same. And probably you'll find yourself in the same situation in a few years.
Yeah, and I'm always curious because like you'd mentioned that even if you don't do anything, you're effectively deciding to not do stuff. So it's almost like uh, we're inherently good at making decisions. It's just, are we making decisions for what we want, or are we making decisions for what other people want? Because I know for me, there's definitely like some people pleasing that can go into a loop of infinite decision analysis paralysis type thing of like, well, what will my wife think? What will my boss think? What will my friends think? Um, and you know, it's easy to say like, well, you just don't care, just do your own thing. But we are like connected people, and we do like our connections, and that that to me is sometimes has been a challenge. Is like, okay, well, what, like as you said, like big decisions have repercussions. Like there's going to be some powerful forces at work, and the relationships are part of those. So I guess maybe I'd be curious from your experiences navigating sort of those personal constraints, because you know because you're married, so I guess I'd be curious, like, you know, how has your husband been you know, through some of this.
Yes, so I would say communication.
Yeah.
Communication is key here. And I have been learning some great tools for communication now, especially with the NLP, that I feel like they really help me in my relationship because, like anyone, I have my challenges. I'm far from perfect. And I would say one of the challenges was my communication with him. So when we learn how to communicate our needs, yes, because one of my conflicts, for example, with him, there were that why he's not fulfilling my needs, why is he not doing what I want, you know? And when I took a look at that, and when I've learned that, okay, I'm the one that needs to fulfill my needs, and whatever I'm going to receive from him is just going to be an overflow, but then I'm not going to have any expectations. I'm not going to have any frustrations because I'm going to give myself what I need first. And when we do that, then things are so much more easier. But what happens is that we put the full pressure on our partners that you are the one that needs to be everything for me. You are the one that needs to go hiking with me, that needs to go traveling, that needs to study with me. And we put like, we want our partners to have all these roles. And you ask something, how do we make decisions? Because especially if you are a people pleaser, so I would say it comes to awareness. Yes.
Yeah.
Catch yourself when you are about to make a decision. Catch yourself. Like, do you ask, okay, what is it that I need? What is it that I want? Or are you asking, okay, what is it that my partner would say about this? Or what is it that my coworker would say? And it's all about catching yourself when you do that and bring it back to yourself. Okay, if I eliminate them, let's just imagine they don't exist right
Yeah.
now, and if I just eliminate them, would I do that for myself? Would I make that decision for myself? Because if you put them first, then that's when frustration from your side is going to come, because you're like, oh, actually, the decision I made, it was not for me, it was for her or for him. And that's when frustration and expectations come.
I think that was so amazingly well said, and just like there was a lot there. Like I'm like hoping people like caught all that they, you know, the what is it, the stereotypical is the you know, put your mask on the airplane before putting it on the child, because it is just like we all think that, or often we've been socialized to think like, well, take care of other people and then they'll take care of you, when really it's you know, I got to take care of myself so then I can take care of other people. But if I'm, you know, all frustrated and ragged and whatever, then I'm probably just putting that out on other people. It's like I thought that, you know, and it can sound harsh because it's sort of like it goes against, you know, our Hollywood romance movies of you know, like, oh, you know, I'll do anything, I will die. And it's like, and it's probably like there's some truth to that. It's like if you do everything for other people, like it will slowly start to kill you, like the health and physical pains. And so yeah, I think that's a great way of of putting it. Um, it, it does sort of remind me of you know how we met. We met at a Mind Valley conference in late February, so it was like before all of the shutdown of travel and stuff. Like there was starting to be hints of things, um, and it was. Um, I mean, it was an amazing conference. Like, I love the people because I've been really into Mind Valley, like Vishen Lakhiani's podcasts and his programs. So I'm kind of curious, like, you know, how did you get into that? Like, was there a gateway for you? And yeah, how has that sort of impacted you know, a lot of this transition? Because people aren't super familiar with Mind Valley. It's kind of like straddles the border of very science-based practicality with some stuff that is maybe comes from more, you know, ancient or woo-woo type stuff, but that a lot of science is starting to go, oh yeah, yeah, this stuff actually works.
Yeah, it's proven more and more scientifically that it works. And how I started, I remember it was 2017 when I was still in my restaurant jobs, and I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could do like an online like business where I'm able to just travel, because my dream was like, I just want to go and travel. And I remember like I didn't have anyone around me that was into personal development. I didn't know anyone. And I know I attended a webinar, and was one of those webinars that are showing you like, oh my God, if you buy this course, it's going to be so easy to set up your business and blah, blah, blah. And they fooled me. And I
Mm.
really felt fooled afterwards, because I remember it was 2017 and I paid for my first course $1,000
Oh,
to
wow.
create a business online. And I haven't used it, not even now. And but what helped me with it still helped me, because what I think, even with these courses, even if we don't use everything from them, we can always take at least one thing that we can be like, okay, that helped me move forward, you know. And what that course helped me with is to realize that I have some blockages around my mindset, because I'm like, I just can't see myself to do any of this. And I catch myself that I'm like, maybe it's my mindset. And that's when I went on YouTube, and I'm like, I just started searching videos for mindset.
Hmm.
And Vishen Lakhiani showed with like one of his ads promotions, and he said something that really catched me. Like, people believe that with hard work you are successful and you achieve success, blah blah, and that really catched me.
Yeah.
So I would say my what I'm really good at is that I take action really fast, even if it's about investing. I don't care. I'm just gonna act. And that's what I did with Vision. I just acted. I'm like, I like this guy, and I just bought his course. And I can say, starting at that point, my life transformed, because I just bought more courses. I just got more accustomed. I changed my mindset. I got into spirituality. I went to their events, and just one person after the other led me where I am here today, because I decided to make a decision. Yes, that I want to build a business, so I'm going to invest. So you see, once we start making those type of decisions, like, the universe or whoever you believe in is just going to help you, you know, it's going to provide you with what you need in order to move forward. And I feel like that's what happened for me.
Yeah, like I think that's so cool because it's really like it doesn't matter if the first step didn't work, and most times in life the first step doesn't work. It's the first step, but it gets you going. And there's just something about, and I don't know, like I once I started investing in stuff that I truly wanted, that's when things started getting going. And I know for me, like that first step was so hard. Like I think I it was Oh, it was actually like a pickup book. So it was like, because I was single, and I'd be like, I've been having so many bad relationships. Like I'm in my mid, like, I was, I think I was technically in my mid 30s, and I'm just like, I got to do something about this. Otherwise, it's just going to get sad. And I saw an ad, and it was like $69 for this book, and a lot of people are like $69, depending where you come from, like to find the love of your life. Well, that's nothing. But to me at that time, like to spend that kind of money on something just to make me happy seemed ridiculous. But
Yeah,
it like kicked things off. And then like I got into like other, then I got into like a more general personal development thing. And um, then started doing more programs and more coaching. And it's like, and now I'm here, and I work with Andreea and lots of other great coaching programs, and it's like it just starts with a little step. It's probably going to be painful. Like was buying that $1,000 program, was that like painful at first?
definitely, because it's just like I really tried and I was so dedicated to make it work. I would spend like hours after work, like after I was working 14 hours a day, I was just spending a few hours in the night and trying to make it work. And I'm like, just, that feeling, even if I was not very accustomed with my intuition at that time, I just had that feeling that it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel like this is how I want to do my business. This is how I want to build it. And it was email marketing.
Uh-huh.
That's what it was. And I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. So I stopped it and I was furious on myself for a very long time. I judged myself that why you didn't continue, why you didn't do it, and our ego that it's like blah 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 on ourselves.
Yeah. When really it was that just wasn't the program for you. Like, yeah, you wanted to do your own business, but like, I don't know, email market. Like, I think I bought a book or a program. It was somebody who's like associated with Tony Robbins. I think it was Dean Grazi or something. He's got like something about millionaire, and I think I remember like almost buying one of his programs, and I was like digging in because the marketing, it made it sound like, well, this is for anyone. Anyone can do this, and so much money from your home, and blah blah blah. You'd be helping people, and it was basically the equivalent of being like almost like a weird real estate investor or something, where like you try to find distressed properties and then you try to sell them to be like the middle person in those and I'm just like, I have no interest in. It's just like, that's not what I'm looking for. Like I'm sure if you do it, you could probably make a lot of money, but I'm like, that's just not who I want to be. And luckily I dodged the bullet on that one, but I've definitely bought some programs where I was like, this is not quite, but it led me to the next thing usually.
Exactly. It's like that. That's exactly how I said. And one of the things that my coach helped me overcome this, because I was really guilting myself. I was shaming myself for buying so many courses and not like doing them 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
And how my coach helped me with that was like, okay, just look at that. These courses, these programs are like your playground, and you need to try them. You need to test them. You need to see which one you like to play with, and you couldn't know if you wouldn't play with them. And I was like, okay, I really like that approach.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of relates to scarcity versus abundance mentality. I feel like like I would buy a book and I'm like, I have to read the entire book front to back, and so there ended up being like lots of books I never even would crack open, and because it's just like, well, I need to suck all the value out of all of this, and it's like I kind of look back and I'm like, that's silly. Like I can buy a book and read 10 pages, and if I got something out of it, great. If not, my time's more valuable. Like is that was that like a conscious shift for you, or did that, like you said you were kind of like working with your coach, and was that also a part of the shift? Because I know you talk about helping people move away from scarcity.
Yes, definitely. So right now I just love like just looking at programs, at people, customers, whoever it is. I always look at that there is more than enough to go around for everyone. So I'm never afraid like, oh my God, there is competition, or that person has similar services to mine, because it doesn't matter, guys. What it matters is who you are as a person, your energy, and whoever is going to choose to work with you is going to be based on that, you know, because as you associate with certain people, that's how certain people are only going to associate with you. So when we step up and when we get out of our comfort zone, that's when we're going to be able to help others do the same.
And I guess a big part of that is just, yeah, the more you can be connected with yourself, that allows other people to connect with you as well. I'm guessing is that
Yes, I would say that's crucial to do the inner work. Um, because one of the things I heard from a coach was saying that you cannot take people deeper than you have been.
mm,
So if you are not going into those dark places that we all have and work through them, then you are not going to be able to really transform your clients' lives. So the work starts with us always.
yeah. And yeah, I think that's such a good point, is to do the inner. And well, one thing I'll come back to is that you the practice of doing nothing, which is somewhat, but the other thing that because that because that one in a way is a little bit of a double-edged sword, where there can be the like, well, oh, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, I don't know enough. um and I know for me, I think what I've come along to is that, hey, as long as I'm one step ahead of somebody and I can help them take that step to where I am, that's all that's needed. I don't need to be the person that guides them from wherever they are to their final destination, which doesn't exist anyway. But as long
Yeah,
as I can help somebody take one more step in the direction they want to go, that's all that's needed. Like yeah, because there's some like, well, I don't have this certification or that certification. Well, what if somebody like has something with scoliosis and I'm trying to teach meditation and I need to know how to give them proper, sitting recommendations for school. It's like there's other people for that. Like, I don't have to do everything for everybody.
yes, and that's something that kept me trapped for a long time, and I know it keeps many people when we just stay into the student mode. Yes, we are just staying in that preparation mode because we want to become amazing before we even start, you know. And what happens, we just stay in that mode where we just learn, we just prepare, and that comes from deep down of not feeling good enough to help others. So when you realize that no matter where you are right now, at what point you are in your life, you're always going to be ahead of someone. There is always going to be people that are behind you, and there is always going to be people that are ahead of you. So as long as you remember yourself that okay, I am where I am. It's never going to be perfect. I will never know enough. You know, you will never feel ready. You will never feel prepared. So if you are waiting for that, you are just bullshitting yourself because that's never going to happen. So start taking action and go where you want to go from right now. Because one of the things that helped me start taking action, because for example, I was waiting for clarity. Yes, I'm like, but I'm
Mhm.
just not clear, like on my niche. And that's something that we all go through. I'm just not clear on my niche, on who I am, on what I want to help, and blah, 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 blah. So I was putting myself into that excuse of not taking action. And then I heard this thing that, okay, clarity comes with action. And I'm like, okay, like my excuse was just exploded because it's not working anymore. Clarity actually comes with action. So I have to take action to gain clarity.
Oh my gosh, that's so huge. Clarity comes from action. I love that, because like I know looking back, it's like some of my best experiences were the awful ones where I knew I don't want to fucking do that. Like, I did like 3 weeks at a Macy's over Christmas, and it was interesting for 3 weeks, but I'm like, yep, let me go back to school so I don't have to do retail. Nothing wrong with retail, just that was not for me. But I knew it wasn't for me after that experience. So like I was so grateful for that experience. And similar, like with bad romantic relationships, it's like, okay, I know I don't want to be in a romantic relationship with someone that's maybe got these, personality traits or whatever. Now I know. And as opposed to like, oh, it's a failure. It's the Thomas Edison light bulb story of like, you're just now you know what doesn't work, and so now you can try something else, and maybe that'll work. I love that. I love that definition of clarity.
Yes, it's amazing if you can look at, there, like, I don't see anything as failure anymore. Everything I'm looking at that doesn't work the way I want, I'm like, oh, there is a lesson. There is a lesson in it. And as long as you learn from it and move on, then it's not a failure.
Yeah. So so I'm curious, like, because you were born in Romania, right?
Yes.
So I'm curious, like, having grown up out of the U.S. and now having been in the U.S., are there any cultural aspects that you see in some ways maybe are help in this area, or cause blind spots? Because there's our culture kind of for better or worse gives us some beliefs that may or may not be helping out. Is there anything that you've noticed that you're just like, oh, this is a really interesting way that many Americans are, that you found because you didn't grow up in America? You're like, well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I definitely had quite a few of those. And I would say the hardest for me was after I moved here. It was really get used to it with people being so nice all the time.
Mm, okay.
I was like, why is everyone so nice? It was weird because in Romania people are not like that, and I would say in Europe in general, but
Yeah.
especially in Romania. And how we take it when I moved here, and I know other people as well, it's like we see you guys as fake.
Yeah.
I'm like, because everyone is just like so nice, just smiling and not telling you like straight in your face that something is wrong or something is not working. And I feel like people are so freaking sensitive. I'm like,
Oh
you
yeah.
cannot say like, why you did that way, or just have like an honest, straightforward conversation, because people are gonna get offended. And
Yeah.
I think because of that, it's like I've been called like blunt,
Mm-hmm.
that because I'm so direct, I'm so straightforward. And there was a time when I tried to change that. I'm like, maybe I have to change it because I'm here and people are different. But I'm like, no, that's part of who I am. And who doesn't like it is just not gonna hang out around me.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, has that actually turned out to be an advantage for you in your coaching? Because like great coaches can be like direct and kind of like do the equivalent, like shake you to wake you type of like, hey, look, this is what you're doing, asshole. Like, knock it off. And the pussyfooting around, like, well, have you considered, like, sometimes it's got to be boom right in the face. Like, has that
You
turned out to be an advantage?
you definitely have to be bold as a coach, and
Yeah.
not be afraid that um you like how the client is gonna take it, because what the client needs to remember is that you are there for his best interest. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it definitely helped me because I'm not afraid to call out people. I'm really not. And you will hear it, and probably you've heard it from me. I don't know.
Oh yeah, but it's like that's what I want. That's like I've got enough people being nice to me in my regular life, but they're not helping me get to the life I want to live. Like it's like that's what I'm wanting is hey, the honest, the educated, honest, and ideally somewhat tactful feedback, like which I've definitely found with you, which is why we've continued to work together. But yeah, I definitely can relate to the niceness over kindness. And having traveled in Europe, I've seen the directness, which at first could be startling. Like was in Munich for Oktoberfest, and me and the friend that I was traveling with, for some reason, we happened to oversleep a little bit. And so we went at around 1 p.m. was when we finally rolled out, and we went to the front desk and said, "Hey, could we have our room made up?" have it cleaned up and get towels. And the woman at the front desk just goes, no, which which compared to any American hotel or whatever was just like, oh my, because usually they're just like, oh sir, I totally understand that. That is so, we apologize so much, so immensely, but we're unable to do that at this time. But she just no, and we were less like, why not? And she's like, oh well, cleaning stops at noon. Like, it's just very factual. And then it was like, oh okay, like the answer to my question was no, and then the answer to my why was the reason. Um and at me, as someone that actually likes efficiency, I kind of actually respect that directness and to the point, and like, let's not waste time. And honestly, sometimes in a in a corporate job, like especially when it's someone that like I don't like, and I don't really want to, I don't know, just that 5 minutes of niceties at the beginning of a meeting, like, well, how was your weekend? And I was like, can we just get to like, I I need you to finish this, can we move on? Can we just do our jobs? And
I I think like, oh my God, every time when I'm like, how you doing? Great. How are you? I'm like, oh, can we just change it to something else? Because I feel like it really drives me crazy.
yeah, do you know the comedian George Carlin?
No.
So I'm trying to remember when he passed, but he was like a very prolific comedian in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s. And he loved to like play with language. And he had a bit about the how are you? And he said like, yeah, sometimes I like to mess with people, and I like to tell them I'm not unwell, thank you, because that really messes with people. And so sometimes I like to do that. And usually people go like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you're not listening. You're not listening. I said, I'm not unwell,
Yeah.
which really is not saying anything.
Yep. That's
But
true.
he's got a lot of fun stuff like that.
It's good. So how can we help also your audience? And this is also that I something I shared with you, Justin, in one of our sessions. So when you are about to make like a big decision, make sure you write it down. Yes, like what is that decision? What is that worst case scenario? Yes,
Yeah.
because and you're gonna see like once you write it down, it might not even be as bad as you imagine. So write that down and then ask yourself, okay, if I would go and move on with this decision and it's going to be a yes, what are the benefits moving on? And if you say a no, then what are the consequences of not moving on? So what is going to cost you?
Yeah. Like, yeah, I think sometimes we don't realize the cost of not doing something.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'm getting older, health's getting worse. The value of money, actually goes down over time due to inflation. So it's like if you're making the same today as you did last year, you're actually making less. And the unhappiness is taking a toll on your body. So that's less years you get on this planet. Um, and then usually like I've yet to, when I verbalize or write down the worst, I've yet to ever go like, oh, that's unworkable, I'm not gonna, it's usually like, oh, that's not that bad.
Mhm. Yes, but we need to give that clarity to the mind, because our mind is freaking out, especially when it's about making powerful decisions. Yes, that is going to change our life, that is going to take us of our comfort zone. It's gonna freak out and it's gonna try to make its best possible to really keep you where you're at because it's saying you are safe where you are right now and it's dangerous to go there. So
Yeah.
that's why it's very good exercise to write it down and lay it down for your brain, for your logical side, and then move on into the intuition because your heart, your intuition is really going to help you and tell you, if it's the right one or not. And it's are many ways how you can tell. And one of them is like just see how it feels within your body. Does it feel light? Does it feel constrained? Do you feel like, oh my God, it feels amazing, but you are afraid in your mind? Because a lot of times the intuition is not going to, with your logic mind, is going to be like against. Your logic mind is going to freak out, but your intuition is saying yes. And most of the time, that's the right decision.
Yeah, the logic mind is usually bringing on everybody else's thoughts and opinions. Kind of related to that, but I think this will be my last question for you is, one of the fears I know I've had, and I know it's a common one, is when you start kind of like putting yourself out there, sort of becoming a little bit more of a public figure, there's kind of the like, oh, people are going to judge me and hate on me. Have you, one, have you found that? And if so, has it been as bad as you thought maybe, or is it like most things, it's once it actually happens, like maybe not as big a deal? Or I'm just kind of curious
Yeah.
as you've been really expanding out recently.
So I think that's a fear that we all have,
Yeah.
because we just like, it's in our nature that we want to be inclusive, we want to be loved, we want to be appreciated. So I've definitely been through that. And I remember when I started doing live videos, because as you know, like that's what I'm doing mostly, just live videos.
Yeah.
And I remember how nervous I was and how like it's just that thought of, oh my God, what is that they're gonna say about me? What if something stupid comes out of my mouth right now? And all those things. And what really helped me with that, it's really to first, people are gonna judge no matter what. Like no matter if you take action, if you don't take action, people are gonna judge. Second, when you take the attention out of you and you put it on the people that you want to serve, your energy is going to shift and you're not going to be as worried because you don't care as much about the people that are going to judge you. You care more about those that need your message. So that really helped me. And one of the things is that I would always, before I started a video, I would always like have an intention in my mind. And I would put it on like, okay, I'm just imagining right now that I speak to one person. And that one person was like a really big fan of mine. Like it can be a friend, it can be your mom, it doesn't matter. Like just put that image into your head and imagine that you speak to that person. And you're going to see how relieved and how relaxed you're going to feel instead of thinking, oh my God, I just don't know who's going to watch, what I'm going to say. And regarding of how I experienced that, honestly, I didn't receive much negative feedback so far, but that's not necessarily good.
Yeah.
Because that means I'm like too nice and too like on the bright side, and I'm not questioning much like people. So I'm not seeing it necessarily as good.
Yeah.
And I would say that what we focus on, that's what we receive. And that happened to me once when I started growing my Facebook group, when I was sending messages to people to invite them. And I had a lot of resistance around that, to just send messages to people and you invite them. That was something I had to overcome. And I was just thinking, I just don't like this strategy. And I'm sure people don't like it either. And they judge me about it. And guess what? I received a response from someone that said, I really don't like this strategy.
Yeah.
And that was that period of time when I was thinking about that. And I was like, look, that's the proof. I'm not doing good.
One person out of, I don't know, probably hundreds.
Yes. And of course that we're going to receive that proof from the universe because that's what we focus on. So what we focus on, it grows, and that's what you receive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I received what I was thinking about.
That's crazy.
And that was the only person that messaged me like that. And after I shifted my energy around it and my thoughts and around that, it never happened again.
That's so awesome. Because yeah, you put out like your material is fantastic. So I definitely encourage anybody, to look up Andreea on Facebook, Heart-Centered Decision Making, or Andreea Tamas Coaching. I'll put it in the show notes. I'm checking the time and we've like flown by. So I know you got, some commitments coming up. So we do have an event coming up, but I'll tell everybody about it. I'll record that. So there'll be a little musical break and then I'll talk about that. And so people can experience more of you. We got an event coming up and then find you. I'll put that in the show notes. So Andreea, thank you so much and appreciate it. Really good stuff. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well.